reporting on the games you love by people who love to game. The MMO Reporter Network. MMO Reporter's PAX Prime coverage is brought to you by GoDaddy. Use the coupon code MM199 to get your next domain for only $1.99. Hi everyone, Chris here from MMO Reporter and Wildstar Reporter at PAX Prime with none other than the voice of Dev Speaks. Stephan Frost is here with me. Stephan, how has your first day at PAX been? I mean, you've been in this wonderful room talking to a lot of people, but it must be pretty exciting to show off the new content. It's
fantastic, man. We really look forward to these things because whenever we have new content to show off, it shows off really well. We're very excited about it. I'm always happy to be here and talking with anybody that wants to listen to Wildstar stuff. So I'm very excited.
Awesome. So we've got another video that we'll put, let's say, right there. We'll get that in editing. Right there, you can go to the annotation and click on that video. But we're going to move on to a couple of other things. I want to mention and talk to you about the changes to the attunement system and what you're doing with that. One of the big things that came out of pre-release discussions with Carbine about Wildstar was this is a hardcore game. This is a game for hardcore players, and you know, we're going to make sure that as we go forward, yes, it's going to be a challenge, and we're not going to nerf things. My guild is split about 50-50 on the changes that you're making to the attunement system, in that some people feel that by changing the way in which you unlock the raids, although you're not nerfing the content, the bosses aren't any easier to fight or anything like that, you are nerfing the game. What's your response to that?
Well, it's funny. This isn't the first time I've had this conversation. You know, there are people on Twitter all the time that are contacting me, and they're like, "You there? You said you were not going to nerf things, right?" And you know, as you said, we aren't nerfing the dungeons. You know, look at our history of things that we have hit with the nerf bat. It's quite small, really, in comparison to you know, other games that maybe have done this before. We are nerfing the attunement because there are people that are trying to get in to access this raid content. And the thing is a lot of people are saying, well, this is like a gateway drug, right? Where if you nerf this part, and then those people get in, and they're not suitably geared enough, or they're not talented enough, we'll say, to take down these bosses, that they're going to cry that we need to nerf those things. We're not doing that. You know, we are going to make sure that we keep our difficulty the same. If the only thing that we're doing is really allowing more players to get in to experience this content, the idea of the attunement process was to test your mettle, right? It was to make sure that when you were getting in, you could handle the raids. And I think that for some of it, it was gated in a way that seemed to be more obtrusive than it was about skill or challenging things. So I think the changes that you're going to see to the attunement process are not something that is like a violent nerf. You know, you still have to complete these dungeons. You still have to do these world bosses. I think it's just going to make it easier for people to complete these steps. So for those that are saying that we're nerfing things, I would say that of the nerfs that we could do, this seems to be the most fair. And really all we're doing is trying to access the health of the game and make sure that we get more people experiencing this content in a way that's still not slapping other people in the face that have busted their ass and have done really well in the game and that are hardcore. I think it just means that there are other guilds out there that will get in, and maybe they'll die a little bit more than everybody else, but at the same time, we're still not nerfing anything regarding combat. Mm-hmm.
I will say that I am in support, mostly because it took me 4 weeks of about 9 different groups in my guild of finally getting up to silver in STL. And that was a frustrating 4 weeks. And the bronzes were like, yes, bronze. Oh, wait, hold on.
Right. And we even had to, you know, change things like timers and things like that to make sure that people were trying to get in and could see it. Because, you know, we ran into that issue early on where people said, oh, we're not going to hit this, I'm leaving. You know, and immediately if they weren't going to get that silver, they were just bailing. And that's not healthy. So we wanted to make sure that we were updating things so that when players were getting in, there's more of an opportunity, because there might be some people in guilds that can handle this stuff, but other people can't, and they can't quite get in there, and we just want to make sure that there's more opportunities for people to get in these raids.
And there was a big change to the LFG system once players saw the change in the way in which loot was distributed for the different ratings, and that made it so that a lot more quote unquote training runs could happen, because there was still that gear at the end that was decent. You weren't gold or bust, right?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that was another thing. Obviously having that loot on those different levels of medals was something that it just wasn't quite as helpful for people to get through stuff. And I think that that's something that we just needed to test over time and kind of distribute in a more even fashion so that we could get more people. I think the more people that check this out and aren't gated by these things is probably for the better.
Mm-hmm. Now, a couple of things that I want to talk about here before I let you go. I'm going to check your poker face here, and Chad Moore's not here, right. So there's a lot of talk on Reddit, talking about the lore, that Drusera and the entity are one and the same. So, any thoughts or comments on that?
How's my poker face?
You're doing pretty good. I was looking for an eyebrow twitch or something, but you're not letting anything out.
Chad will kill me if I say anything. So, sure, it could be, or maybe not. So maybe you should play, find out. There are some things on the PTR that you could sort of figure out, perhaps, if you play through some things, and in the future you'll see this other content.
Now, one of my favorite moments of pre-release coverage for Wildstar was one of my co-hosts from MMO Reporter, Harry Hall, was at Gamescom, and he was talking to one of your compatriots, and he asked a question about mounts. Yes. And they talked about mounts for a while, and he said, well, it sounds really interesting. What about mounted combat and doing PvP and mounts and fighting? And the person he was interviewing said, oh, we're not talking about that. And Harry's response was, well, I am. So I'm going to ask the same question here, see if we can tease a little bit more out. It does seem like an interesting thing. There is so much customization available with mounts right now in the game. I mean, is that something that we might see down the road?
So I can use the word might. I don't know if I can really go into super amounts of detail, but it is something we've thought about. I don't want to put any promises out there or say anything, because then people will hold it to me and let me know instantly in Twitter what a liar I am. So I will say that we've certainly thought about it, and again, might being the operative word, you might. That's all I can say.
So, and I guess the last question, and probably the most important question that we're going to talk about here, when are we going to see a Team Frost, Team Pappy rematch here? We gotta get something going here.
Do you need to, though, is the thing. We already know the outcome. I mean, he's going to get destroyed. Look, I'd be happy to do it again. We'll see if Pappy has the intestinal fortitude to be able to be put in such a death match again.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for your time here at PAX. I know you're a very, very busy guy. Always a blast talking to you, and look forward to seeing more from Wildstar.
Well, thank you so much, and I appreciate the time to talk, and thank you.
Awesome.